Hi, welcome back. So today we'll be looking at day three of the purpose-driven life, and the topic is what drives your life. What drives your life? Ecclesiastes chapter 4 verse 4 says, I observed that the basic motive for success is the driving force of envy and jealousy. The chapter opens with a major statement. Everyone's life is driven by something. Even when you don't think about it, even when you've never given thought of it, your life is driven by something. Right now, you may be driven by a problem or pressure or a deadline. You may be driven by a painful memory, a haunting fear, or an unconscious belief. There are hundreds of circumstances, values, and emotions that can drive your life. Here are 5 of the most common ones. The first is many people are driven by guilt. Have you done something before and you keep dwelling on that thing and how much you wished that thing never happened? The guilt from it can control every other thing you do for the rest of your lives if you don't master it and if you don't take care of it. Many persons are driven by guilt. Guilt-driven people are manipulated by their memories. Every time they are scared. What if this thing happens again? Oh, what if that happens again? Oh, what if this is the result of what I've just done, just like it had happened before? Guilt-driven people are always living in the shadows of their memories, and it could become the driving force of their life. You will be restless, just like God told Cain. He said, "You will be restless. You will be a restless wanderer on the earth." That's exactly what describes most people today. They wander through life without a purpose. We are products of our past. Yes, like I always tell people, you are a sum total of all the decisions you have made from when you knew yourself up until the moment you start thinking about it. But we do not have to remain prisoners of our past. Our past is our past. Remember, Apostle Paul said that one thing he does is that he forgets the past and then he focuses on the future. So our past, whatever it may be, however it was, is now in the past. So whatever happened then should not make us so guilty, or we should not feel so much guilt that we are chained in the prison of our past. All right, so the next thing that is important, or the next point, the second point, when we consider what drives people's life, is that of resentment and anger. Some people's life is driven by resentment and anger. Instead of releasing your pain through forgiveness, they rehearse their pain. Instead of people releasing their pain through forgiveness, they rehearse it over and over again in their minds. Have you been there before when somebody hurt you so bad that you don't want to forget it? You bring it before yourself every now and again. This person did this person did that, and you don't want to forget. You feel if you forget, you may forgive the person. Have you also considered that many times when you're in that situation, you are actually the only person in that prison of unforgiveness? That person who might have wronged you may have even forgotten such a scenario played out, but because you have refused to forgive that person, you remain in the prison of that hurt and of that pain. And it's not a good thing to be driven by resentment. Resentment always hurts you more than it does the person you resent, right? And those who have hurt you in the past cannot continue to hurt you now unless you hold the pain through resentment. Your past is your past and nothing will change it. Whatever it is that person did to you is now in the past. And however you try, you can't change it, right? So you just have to release them through forgiveness, because resentment and holding that hurt against them will keep you perpetually in the pain of something that is now in the past. So it's very encouraging for every one of us not to be driven by that and not to allow resentment or anger color our perspective towards life. The third thing people are driven by is fear. The third thing is fear. Regardless of the cause, fear-driven people often miss great opportunities because they are afraid to venture out. Instead, they play it safe, avoiding risks and trying to maintain the status quo. Have you also noticed that in your life, or somebody that you know, they've experienced this, where they've made certain decisions in their life And because that decision did not play out according to their plan, they get so fearful of making further decisions or further plans, later in life, because they keep thinking they will fail exactly the way they failed the last time. And because of this fear, many people, they shut down. Practically, they shut down. They just like Require was saying here, that they play it safe, they avoid risk, they try to maintain the status quo. They don't want to ruffle feathers. They don't want to, venture out. They don't want to try anything new. They just want to remain in something they know has worked and has always worked for them. But you should not be driven by fear, because fear-driven people don't get to achieve all God has called them to do in life. They don't get to fulfill purpose practically. Because remember Abraham, how God called Abraham to go to a land he was going to be shown. He was not shown at the point of God telling him to leave. God said he's going to show him along the way. Imagine if he had not approached, God in faith, believing that truly God will keep his word. And if he was fearful, how can I leave everything I've known, everyone I've known, to venture into the unknown? But it took a step of faith. And of course, today, we are all called children of Abraham, because he was the very one that started this work that we have with God, and that we can always lay claim to the blessings that God blessed him with, right? So I remember how somebody once defined fear as false experience appearing real. False experience appearing real. It's very important that we know that fear is a self-imposed prison that will keep you from becoming what God intends you to be. You must move against it with the weapons of faith and love. The Bible says, well-informed love banishes fear. Since fear is crippling, a fearful life, fear of death, fear of judgment, is one not yet fully formed in love. So it's very important that we know that faith is the opposite of fear, and fear is the opposite of faith. And therefore, we should operate in faith and not in fear. All right, so another thing that drives most people is materialism. Their desire to acquire becomes the whole goal of their lives. And this drive is always to want more, based on the conception or the misconception that having more will make them happy, more important, more secure. But all these things are just ideas, and they are not true. If your life is driven by materialism, you always want to get more. When you see this on social media, you want to get it. When you see that on somebody, you want to get it. When you see somebody talk about something, some people, is even when they hear somebody talk about something, and they just want to get it because they feel getting that thing, we add to their joy, or whatever it is, but it is not true. So we are not advised to be driven by materialism as believers who want to fulfill purpose. Self-worth and net worth are not the same. Your value is not determined by your valuables. And God says the most valuable thing in your life are not things. The most valuable things in your life are not things. Remember that the Bible even says that a man's life does not consist in the abundance of his possessions. So that God does not count your worthiness according to what you own. So you should not be driven by materialism. Another thing you should not be driven by is the need for approval. Yes, it's important to dwell in communities, to have relationships, but don't ever be boxed up, in trying to please men. Our goal is not to please men. Our goal is first and foremost to be approved of God. Is to be approved of God. Being controlled by the opinion of others is a guaranteed way to miss God's purpose for your life. Jesus said, no one can serve two masters. So if you want to escape the temptation of living outside God's purpose, if you want to avoid living a life that is not purposeful, you must do everything in your power not to live on the approval of men, right? So nothing matters more than knowing God's purpose for your life, and nothing can compensate for not knowing them. Not success, not wealth, not fame or pleasure. Without purpose, life is a motion without meaning, activity without direction, and events without reason. Without a purpose, life is trivial, petty, and pointless. So quickly, we now look at the benefits of living a purposeful life. I'll try to be very fast so that you can follow through. The first is knowing your purpose gives meaning to your life. Knowing your purpose gives meaning to your life. When life has meaning, you can bear almost anything. Without it, nothing is bearable. Remember, Jesus Christ said that, no, the Bible said of Jesus Christ that for the glory that was set before him, he endured the cross. Everything is bearable when we know that there is a purpose attached to it. But when you don't have a sense of purpose, life becomes meaningless and you can't bear anything. You complain about everything because you feel, there is no purpose to it. Without God, life has no purpose. And without purpose, life has no meaning. And without meaning, life has no significance or hope. Because hope in itself comes from knowing God's purpose for your life. Okay, I'll just jump to the next one. Knowing your purpose simplifies your life. It simplifies your life. Your purpose becomes the standard you use to evaluate which activities are essential and which are not essential. So you don't just rush into activities. You don't just jump on every relationship. You don't jump on any challenge. You don't jump on anything whatsoever. You evaluate everything based on how relevant and how essential they are to you, in your purpose. Without a clear purpose, you have no foundation on which to base your decisions, allocate your time, and use your resources. You will tend to make choices based on circumstances, pressures, and your mood at that moment. People who don't know their purpose try to do too much, and that causes stress, fatigue, and conflict. I believe that is self-explanatory. Purpose-driven living leads to a simpler lifestyle and a saner schedule. You are not here and there. You're not here and there. You are defined, and even most people can define you as well. The third thing concerning knowing your purpose is that it helps you focus your life. It helps you focus your life. It concentrates your effort and energy on what is important, and you become effective by being selective, right? We say that you learn to major on the major and minor on the minor, because the moment you interchange it, majoring on minor things and minoring on major things, you have missed the whole purpose of life and the whole essence of your life. So, right, keeping your focus is fueled by knowing your purpose, right? It's fueled by knowing. When you know your purpose, you are able to keep focus. Without a clear purpose, you will keep changing directions, you keep changing jobs, you will keep changing relationships, you will keep changing churches. You think, that church is not the right church, it's not your church, and all of those things, or other externals. Hoping each change will settle the confusion or fill the emptiness in your life. You think maybe this time it will be different, but it doesn't solve your real problem, because a lack of focus and a lack of purpose is the real problem, and that is what needs to be addressed. Don't live carelessly, unthinkably. Make sure you understand what the master wants. That is quoted from Ephesians chapter 5, verse 17. Very important. All right, so I'll just jump to the fourth reason why knowing your purpose is essential. Knowing your purpose motivates your life. It motivates you. Purpose always produces passion. Nothing energizes like a clear purpose. On the other hand, passion dissipates when you lack purpose. So if you want to become passionate about something, you really need to know God's purpose concerning it. You need to know if that is God's purpose for your life. The moment you know that is God's purpose for your life, it motivates you. It fuels your passion and helps you to do what you need to do. It is usually meaningless work, not overwork, that wears us down, right? It saps our strength and robs us of our joy. So it is meaningless work that robs us of our joy and that saps our energy and strength, not purpose-driven work, right? Or not overwork. So it's very important that we know that it's very much essential to work in purpose. The final point why knowing our purpose is important is that it prepares us for eternity. Many people spend their lives trying to create a lasting legacy on earth. They want to be remembered when they are gone. They want to be remembered when they are gone. Yet, what ultimately matters most will not be what others say about your life when you are gone. It is what God says about your life, right? Because what people fail to realize is that all achievements will eventually be surpassed. Records will be broken, reputations will fade, and tributes will be forgotten. What will not be forgotten is that you lived a purposeful life, and God tells you, well done, when you get home. Right? So living to create an earthly legacy is a short-sighted goal. Our real desire is to make sure that we look to that country whose buildings are not built with human hands. Right? So I just want to quickly summarize here, because I don't want it to really be a long video. Just to summarize now, 2 questions will be asked when we get to heaven. The first one is, what did we do with Jesus Christ? When God so generously gave us Jesus Christ, his only begotten Son, what did we do with him? Did we accept him into our life as our personal Lord and Savior and live according to his dictates, or did we just treat him as nothing? And the second thing is, God is going to ask us, what did we do with the purpose he created our lives for? What did we do with the gifts that he gave to us? What did we do with all the abilities, the energies, the opportunities, the relationships he gave to us? What did we do with it? These are the questions that are going to be very essential. So it's important that as we live our life purposefully, we know and we realize that it's not about our life here on earth. It's about the life we'll spend with God in heaven, which is forever. And like the Bible has told us repeatedly, it's for eternity. So as a wrap up of this video, the question for us to ponder for day 3 is, what would my family and friends say is the driving force of my life, and what do I want it to be? You may not be honest with yourself, but ask people around you, what do you think my driving force has been? And if it is not what it should be, we are encouraged to pull down what we want it to be and believe God to help us through it. Thank you so much. See you at the next video.